A Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and since it's turning 35 this year, I thought I'd review it. The film is directed by Wes Craven, who also went on to direct Scream, another great movie. But A Nightmare on Elm Street is, in my opinion, one of the best horror movies ever. One of the best slasher movies ever made. I love almost everything about this film. This review will contain spoilers, so if you've not seen the film, please go watch it. But my only one problem with it is that last, minute. After Nancy wakes up and her mom's back and they drive away in the Freddy car and Johnny Depp's somehow back, and she gets pulled through a window and it's obviously the dummy. I don't like that ending. I think it's quite bad, but if they cut it right after I think she wakes up or something, then, or maybe she walks through the door, then if they cut it there, this movie would get an A+. That's how much I love this film. I've seen it twice now, once a few nights ago and then once a year ago, and I just think it's great. The first time I watched it, I fell in love with it. Nancy, just the characters, Glenn, Freddy Krueger though, is one of the best horror villains of all time. He could be my favorite slasher. I'm not sure. Michael Myers is also great, and I haven't seen any Friday the 13th movies. I will get on that. Freddy Krueger is just such a creepy villain with the stories of what they did to him and how they killed him, but then he came back. But the scariest thing is getting killed in your sleep. That's just a terrifying thought. The scenes in the boiler room are just amazing. And my favorite scene, probably in the entire film, is the school scene where Nancy sees her friend out in the hall in the putty bag and she gets dragged away. That's just such a creepy image. She goes down to the boiler room and Freddy's down there and she burns her arm on the thing, but then when she wakes up screaming, the burn is there. So you're always left wondering what's actually happening, and that's just great. Wes Craven achieved something not a lot of people can, and that's creating a movie from 1984 and still having creepy stuff be creepy today, because you could look back on a film from back then and just laugh at it. And yeah, the stuff that is kind of dated, but I can definitely overlook that. This film is amazing. The acting from the main actress, I'm sorry I don't know her name, I'll put it right there, and Johnny Depp, those two are just fantastic. Even Nancy's mom, they just give great performances. I'm pretty sure this is Johnny Depp's first movie because it's his first acting credit on IMDb, and he's amazing in this movie. He's one of my favorite actors, but he's just amazing in this movie, and his death scene is also pretty gross. I'm not gonna lie, but just he's really funny, but he also is good at the dramatic acting, and him and Nancy together are very good. And I do love the finale of this film, the Home Alone style, even though this came out before Home Alone. I just think what Nancy does is just awesome, and her actual physical fight with Freddy when she takes him out, and the scene earlier where she takes his hat from the dream while she's getting tested, it's pretty creepy where she's going crazy. It kind of reminded me of The Exorcist with all the wires and kind of stuff. This movie has one of my favorite images in horror, and that's when Freddy is walking down the alleyway, I think 20 minutes into the film or something, and his arms stretch out. That image, and a bunch of others, but especially that one, is so terrifying. Also, the death scenes, the thing about that Wes Craven achieved is that you feel bad for these characters, really bad for them, especially when the person who they think killed his girlfriend, and he's in jail, and the blanket or whatever it is going around his neck, and you know what's gonna happen. Also, because Nancy saw him earlier, it is just kind of horrifying because you know what's happening and you know they won't get there on time. And then when you finally see that, it's crazy. And probably the scariest death, or at least the grossest death, is Tina's death early on, where she's just getting dragged across the ceiling and her boyfriend sits there and watches in fear as she's literally getting ripped open. Probably the most suspenseful scene in it is the bathtub scene where Freddy Krueger's hand comes up and I'd feel very violated if that happened to me. Wes Craven just created this eerie feel during the entire thing, even during the daytime scenes. After the school scene, we know that this doesn't just happen at night. It just, whenever you fall asleep. Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger gives one of the best performances in a horror movie, and his one-liners are great. But again, that ending is the thing that's really my only problem with it. And there's like one time where they go to the backyard and it's kind of, they're building up, and and he's like, oh, Johnny Depp's like, oh, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. And then the boyfriend just pops out, and I was like, really? That wasn't really needed, and it feels just kind of stupid because I really hate dumb jump scares, but that didn't actually make me jump, so I'm glad. I just feel like that, you gotta get that, and the ending, but that's it. Everything else in this film is great. I suggest it to any horror fan. If you haven't seen it, are you really a horror fan though? I'm kidding. It's actually a very good film, I think. It's super well made. The acting, the writing, the teenagers talk like teenagers actually talk. And that's a problem with a ton of movies. But it seems like some horror movies can really get that right, and when they do, it's very good. And I love this movie. It is one of my favorite horror movies, probably in my top 5, if not in my top 10, definitely. The characters are great, the scares are great, the writing, directing. All this stuff is very good. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? It's spooky season. Go out and watch this. Go watch it with your friends. It'll make it even more fun. I'm going to give A Nightmare on Elm Street an A. Now, I want to hear what you think. Do you prefer the original Halloween from 1978 or A Nightmare on Elm Street? I'm not 100% which one I like more, so I won't say. But thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Over and out.